There are concerns about the safety of Palestinians in a refugee camp in the El Ramel district of Latakia. For more, we can now speak to Chris Gunness from the United Nations Relief Agency. And Chris Gunness, as you know, communications have been largely cut off in the city of Latakia. But as our correspondent has been saying, we understand there's continuing heavy gunfire aimed at the city's residents, particularly in terms of the targeting of Palestinians living in one of the refugee camps in El Ramel. What can you tell us?
Well, we are getting very disturbing reports from a broad range of sources. They're very disturbing. We hear that more than half of the Latakia refugee camp, that is between 5,000 and 10,000 people, have fled because they were told to leave. We have no idea where they are. And these are Palestine refugees under our care. Where are they? What's their medical condition? How many of them are wounded? How many are sick? How many are women? How many are children? How many are the elderly? Who's providing them with shelter, with medical supplies? We have no idea. There are many unanswered questions here. And of course, we look to the Syrian authorities with whom we've raised this case for some answers. We condemn absolutely any excessive force against civilians, be they civilians, either Palestine refugees or non-Palestine refugees. We have asked the Syrian authorities to order their troops to stop this attack, because the refugee camp itself was attacked by gunboats from the sea and also attacked with fire from the land. So we need to stop this firing at a refugee camp, firing at civilians, and we need humanitarian access. The President
before we
of the
talk
United
about that, I
Nations
wanted to
Security
ask you,
Council...
let me just ask you, though, in terms of the kind of shelling that you know is going on, would you consider it to be largely random shelling that is also targeting Palestinian refugees, or are they being specifically targeted in such a way? I mean, have you seen anything to support the government's expected claims that there may be some armed groups among them?
Look, it's very difficult to say. What I can tell you is that a refugee camp is being hit with fire from gunboats from the sea and from the land. This has to stop. Thousands of people have fled. Frankly, it doesn't matter to us what kind of firing this is. The fact is that large numbers of civilians are coming under fire, and we condemn this firing. We say it has to stop. There has to be immediate humanitarian access so we can tend to the dying, to the wounded, to people who need help, and thereafter we need unfettered, immediate humanitarian access for UNRWA, the organisation I represent, so that we can have access to the camp to assess the situation and to get on with our humanitarian programmes, which of course have been very badly affected by what is essentially a military situation.
So I understand from what you're saying that there has been absolutely no access for humanitarian groups or for medical teams, access into that Palestinian refugee camp. I wonder if you can clarify that point.
Indeed. Indeed, no, you're quite right. I mean, effectively, our programmes came to a halt in the last 24 to 48 hours. We have 4 schools in 2 separate buildings. We have a health facility. We have a youth programme there. We have a community centre. We have simply had to suspend, or forced to suspend, operations. Suspend is a rather official and strong word. We've simply not been able to get our medical staff, our nurses, our doctors, our workers into the camp because the situation is simply too dangerous for them to go out.
The situation is too dangerous, and you say the situation has to be brought under control and the violence put to an end. So what are you saying can be done? What should the UN, United Nations Security Council, be doing at the very least?
Well, you're talking to a representative of a humanitarian organisation. We have unarmed aid workers who are working in this camp. We don't have tanks, we don't have guns, we have only the moral, diplomatic, political pressures which are brought to bear by other people. The Security Council is seized of the issue. There was a statement by the President of the Security Council, and I suppose the very clear message is that the eyes and the ears of the world are on Latakia. The world is watching to see what's going going on there, and we hope that this will provide some kind of restraining hand, because it's clear that there is an extremely acute protection crisis facing our refugees and other civilians in the area. We need to see some restraint, we need the guns to fall silent, and we need immediate humanitarian access.
Christopher Gunnis, the spokesperson for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, speaking to us from West Jerusalem. Thank you very much.